Hey, how's it going, everyone? So what am I working on today? Actually, nothing. Didn't work on anything yesterday either. I didn't get to put a video up, nothing yesterday. I'm up at my daughter's place up in at the farm, and we came up here. It was my other daughter Samantha's baby shower today, so we were going to come up here today anyway. Had to come up yesterday because something required my attention, and I wound up having to take the day off from work and come up here and handle something. And so anyway, we were up here today for the baby shower, and I got to thinking, because I'm looking at the Camaro here, and let's talk about the Camaro, because that's actually my point of discussion today. So here it is. It's a 95 Camaro Z28. It's a real Z28. These are not very desirable as far as I know and as far as I'm concerned. I mean, yeah, if you had a Z28 SS or whatever the heck they called those things with the scooped hood, and I forgot how many horsepower they had, those do have some value to them. This car is a stick shift. It's not in perfect shape, but it's not in bad shape. It's not rotted or anything, but it's not perfect. The dashboard's broken, which is common on these things. The seats have some wear in them, but all in all, the interior isn't bad. My cousin had changed over the steering wheel. He hated the airbag steering wheel, so he changed it over. My son got the car from my cousin, and my cousin passed away. My son, he wound up giving me the car because he's putting himself through nursing school right now. And he said, he goes, I don't have any place to keep the car. I can't do anything with the car. He goes, so why don't you take it? Because, it was my cousin's car. And my cousin was like my brother, my cousin George. He really was. He was like the brother I never had. Anyway, he passed away 2 years ago. My son drove this down from New York to me down here. I mean, that's a good... where I am I'm right on the South Carolina border, and I believe it's a 11-hour trip from where he is in New York, 12-hour trip. He drove it all the way down, no problem. But now, he had mentioned to me when he had owned the car that sometimes the oil pressure gauge, especially when it was hot, would read like 0, and he would rev it up, and I'm like, well, how does the motor sound? He goes, the motor sounds fine. Okay, I said, well, it could just be a bad oil pressure switch. It's a possibility. Had one changed, or had it changed. Same problem. So he drives it down to me, and I drove it around a couple times. I'm like, man, that oil pressure on the gauge is way too low. I'm gonna have to put an actual mechanical gauge on it just to verify. And when I got it hot, I was listening to it. I'm like, no, it's actually rapping, and it was getting worse. So yeah, the motor started making noise. Okay, so now comes the decision. What do we do? This is the old 5.7 LT1 motor. It's not the LS motor. I believe 95 is the last year. I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm not that familiar with these cars. I have done a motor on one. I've done a clutch on one. They're not fun to work on. They really aren't. Especially the old small block Chevy design, which is what this is. They're just not very fun to work on. Everything has to be done from underneath on these things, just about. And nothing's fun about it. This one has the distributor that's sandwiched in between the timing cover and the water pump. It has a shaft coming out off the camshaft. There's like a little, looks almost like a Torx head, basically, or a spline. The distributor mounts to that, and if I remember correctly, there's a shaft that comes through it and drives the back of the water pump. A lot of people thought these were electric water pumps. They're not electric water pumps. They're actually mechanically driven by the camshaft. The tune-ups on these things are horrendous when you got to do one. I don't think this thing's ever been tuned up. But regardless, motor's got to come out. Everything comes out the bottom on these things. You can take it out the top. Not fun. So, my thoughts behind this whole thing were, I want to make a bracket car. Now, I have this car, and I have that Hornet that you've seen in the videos over where I live, in the camper, in the RV. I have my Hornet sitting there. My Hornet's also going to be coming up here. Now, I want to make that car into just some kind of a street strip ripper. This car I want to turn into a bracket car, a consistent bracket car. Consistent means it's going to be an automatic. This thing has a 6-speed in it. This 6-speed I'm going to put into the Hornet. The Hornet's already a manual tranny. It's a 6-cylinder, it's an inline 6 with a manual 3-speed. So it's already a stick shift vehicle. I'm going to take this stick, put it in that car. I have a couple of 5.3s, LS motors, LS base motors. Some of you are going to say, no, it's not an LS, it's a Vortec. Okay, whatever. I also have a complete 6-liter with a 4L80. I don't recall the mileage. I got the motor and tranny in a trade for a truck that I had. It was part of the deal. I got a whole bunch of stuff that just happened to be part of the deal. And I know the guy wouldn't have been saving that engine and transmission if it wasn't any good. And he was saving it for a reason, because it was good. I know the person very well, and I know, like I said, he would not be saving it for no reason. So what I'm thinking of doing is taking one of the 5.3s, doing what's called putting ring gap in it. Basically take the motor apart, take the pistons out, add ring gap to it. The reason you add ring gap is because of nitrous, or a supercharger, or a turbocharger. Whether it's the 5.3 or 6-liter, I'm going to do it to both motors, it doesn't matter. Do I put the 5.3 in here with a small, like 100, 200 horsepower nitrous, small, 100 or 200 horsepower nitrous hit, 5.3 or 6-liter in this car? What do you think? And I'm thinking about putting a turbo 400 behind it. Now, the 4L80, I'm going to hold on to that for something else, because this car is not going to be driven. Roxborough drag strip is right around the corner from me here. It's not far. So I want this car to be able to drive on the street and drive there. I want my wife to be able to get into it and race it. She wants to be able to race. She could drive a stick, but with an automatic, it'll just be way more consistent. One of my grandsons just turned 16. My one granddaughter's 11, so she's going to be 13 soon. At 13, you can go down a drag strip. My other grandson, he's 14 now, I believe. So some of the kids are getting up there, and maybe some of my other kids would want to take a car down the track. With an automatic, it'd just be much easier. So that's why I'm thinking of that. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. Like I said, these Camaros are not super valuable, so I'm not overly concerned about that. I have found these things with blown up motors and 6-speeds for sale in the $1,000 to $1,500 range. I have found them running for $3 or $4 grand. I found mint ones for 9, 10, 11 grand. This thing is far from mint. The paint's not great. The front bumper and rear bumper are cracked all over the place. So, but yeah, let me know what you think. What I should do there. I have a turbocharger too that came off a international bus. It's a perfectly good turbocharger. It's got low mileage, but I'm not going to put that on this car. My beard's a little wonky here. Thinking about putting it on possibly the Hornet as that progresses over time, or save it for another project. I don't know. I'm going to be doing another channel at some point, pop-up shop, because I want to separate the hot rod stuff from the general car care. I'm going to keep doing the wrenching with Kenny. I'm going to keep doing the regular, car repairs and tips and tools and stuff like that. I'm going to keep doing that. So unless you guys want it on this channel, let me know. But message me. Just tell me what you think. Leave a comment. What do you think? What should I do with this car? What would you do with this car if you had the stuff that I have laying around? What else? Yeah, I'm not going to do anything to the body of the car. I have a set of, my cousin had them on this car too. They're like centerline style wheels. The old school center lines with no holes in it. He's got a set of those. My son actually has them up in New York. I'm going to be picking them up, but they're wide for the rear and skinny for the front. So I figure I could put a set of drag radials on it and some skinny tires for the front, because they're now, they're probably dry rotted, because they got to be 5, 6, 7, 8 years old by now. And they've just been sitting in a shed. He did have them on this car at one point. But yeah, so that's it. Let me know what you think. Yeah, so that's it. Oh, the other thing. Obviously, I put the wrenching with Kenny on there when I drove it for that very short period of time. At Farm Truck Nation, my cousin put that on there. That's not coming off. That's staying on there as long as I can. If it starts to get all ruined for whatever reason, I'll put another one on. It's just in memory of my cousin. Anyway, so that's it. Guys, if you get something out of my videos, hit that like button. If you could, please subscribe. All right, guys, have a great day. Keep wrenching.